So, in this video, I'll be talking to you about how to approach your interviews the next time you go for one. My favorite approach to any interview is using the STAR approach. It's absolutely the best. It is example based. It is basically a structure where when you're being asked a question, you answer the question and then you support your answer by citing an example of a time when you did something similar. And then you end it by saying that skill that you've demonstrated previously is a transferable skill, and you believe you'll be able to demonstrate the same on this new job. So I like the STAR approach. It is basically, I know you know it, it's basically the situation, task, action, and result. So every example you see, you create that situation in your mind and then talk about the tasks that was required of you, and then you talk about specific actions you took and then what was the result. So that's the STAR approach. Now, for every interview you go for, so every question you get is an opportunity for you to state an example of a time when you did something. Now listen, no matter how prepared you are, you're probably going to get one or two questions that you were not prepared to get and that you may not have prepared an example around them. And in some situations, they may ask you a question that you, as a professional, you have not been in that situation before. I remember being asked the question, and I've never been in that situation before. I just told them, I said, I've never been in this situation before, never had to deal with this. However, if I were to be in this situation, this would be my best guess. So you don't have to answer, you don't have to say you've been through everything, you've done everything, you are everything. I mean, that may lead to a credibility issue, because if you've not been through something, it's absolutely fine to say you've not been through it. Now, just use the STAR approach, prepare your examples and all of that. Now, in terms of using the STAR approach, the question may now be, well, I don't know what questions they will ask me, so I don't really know what examples I need to have. Now, I'm going to give you, in terms of rule of thumb, a couple of things you should just have in mind as to the kind of questions, the kind of examples you can have at your fingertips. Now, try to have two key technical competence related examples. Now, example of a time when you showed technical competence. So, for instance, if you are an internal auditor, for instance, were there times when you used the procedures that has been stated by your company, and then you thought outside of the box and you brought up some unpredictable procedures, and then you realized there was fraud going down somewhere, or there was an error or whatever? So I mean, that or whatever, I mean, anything aligned to your work that you did exceptionally well that led to a very good outcome will be your example. What I then used to say to people is, especially for early starters will be like, oh, but I've not done anything. Like, I've not personally done anything that I can really say, oh, because I did this, then technical. Well, you've been on teams, haven't you? And usually whatever your team has done, you were part of that team that did it. So you need to find a way to just ensure that you are saying that story in a very nice, presentable way that shows that you can actually be part of a team that delivers very good work. Okay. So be confident is another one I would say to you. And then you need to be confidence, because some job sort of description will require you to speak to people, to deal with people, to deal with clients, whatever. So you can have a story around how you demonstrated confidence in challenging and being challenged, in dealing with people, in talking to people and all of that. So have a story around a time when you really challenged the status quo, whatever, and then you got to a very good outcome. Another one that is really key is relationship management. Now, you need to have a story about a time probably when you dealt with a difficult client or a difficult team member or whatever, and how that turned out well. So you can come up with stuff like what you did exceptionally well, maybe someone who was really needy, how you fed them with information, kept them on track, whatever, such that they were able to get off your back and you were able to demonstrate that you could do your work well. So your ability to manage people and manage people in teams. So part of this story really is you need to really deep down. So when you are saying these examples, don't just say, "Oh, there was a time I was on a team, the manager was difficult, I managed the manager and I got a good outcome." That's not your story. Your story needs to be real detailed in terms of metric. You're on a team. How many people are on the team? This manager. I mean, you can say this was an experienced manager, whatever. Or you dealt with a client that brought in business of how much, if you know. So your example needs to be real detailed for it to be convincing. Another thing is, other than relationship management, the ways of working is a big deal now all over the world. Hybrid working, remote working, and all of that. If you have a story around how you've been able to adapt and how you've been able to work with people from all over. If you work with a multinational or a company that has sort of team members spread across, how have you been able to work with them? Having at the back of your mind their time zones and all of those things, and how you're able to manage them, even though you're working with them through Google Meet or Teams or whatever, how you're able to make sure you're getting the best out of the work. So that would be another one that you can have a story around. Another one will be managing yourself. How do you get your work done? Do you have like daily to-do lists? Do you have like how do you basically get your work done? How do you keep the discipline, to achieve something, especially when there's pressure and all of that? So have a story around the time when you did all of that put together and then you achieved the outcome you wanted to achieve. As part of that will be leading others as well. Like, have you led people before? And they say a story around, irrespective of where you've led them, irrespective if you're a new starter, you've not led somebody before, you probably, when you are back at school in fellowship, you were probably your student fellowship president, or you were the financial secretary, or whatever it is. If you've ever led a group of people, that is your story. So have that at the back of your mind. If you've ever been in a situation where you've led a course around diversity, inclusion, that is really selling. Hot cake, really selling. Have that story. And then, diversity, it is what it is. If you've ever, been in a situation where you've volunteered to lead people from diverse backgrounds and whatever, you've included people, or you've challenged an establishment or an organization to include people, and that is your story. So around diversity, have you ever been in a situation where you've taught someone, even if it is mentoring, coaching, whatever, where you've taught someone to pass their exams, to do well in their career, whatever it is, or right there within your organization, you have people that underneath you, how have you helped them grow? If you have that, and then you have solid examples of how they're doing well just because you take your time to coach them, that is your story. Another fantastic one is technology tools. How are you able to use technology tools? That will be another fantastic story that you can tell. Because technology tools help us do our work more efficiently, saves time and energy, reduces stress, burnout, and all of that. So if you're really good with all of these technology tools and you've ever used them, or you've even developed one yourself, like develop the code, develop whatever, a spreadsheet template that has helped to make someone's life easier, that's your story. Have that story and bring it to your interview room. So that's all about the STAR approach. If you're wondering what kind of stories do I need to have, those are your stories. I have a quantum of them, but these are like the key things. Another one is, wherever you are, you need to have a deep understanding of how your company makes money and what your value is to that. So if you've ever been in a situation where you've helped your company to chase an invoice, you've brought in new clients for your company, that kind of deal, or you saved your company costs because of something you found out, that is a brilliant one. People call it commercial awareness. So if you have a story around that, please bring it on board and tell that story to your interviewers. That's using the STAR approach and the kind of examples of stories you need to have at the back of your mind. The only other thing I want you to keep in mind is you need to be confident. I've done a video around confidence before, so you need to be extremely confident when you appear in the interview room. Another key one is enthusiasm. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to show that you're genuinely interested in the role, 100% interested in the role. You don't only need to show it, you need to see it. minimum twice before the end of the interview. Say it in a way that does not look like you're begging, but at the same time within professional bounds, that you see, if you give me this opportunity, it's going to mean a lot to me. It's going to change the trajectory of my career. They need to see that you appreciate that if that role is given to you, you will give your best to it. This seems obvious, but I would say it. Know your CV. Don't come into an interview room without knowing your CV. And the reason why you need to know what is inside your CV is because your interviewer has their normal day job. They may have been giving your CVs 5 days prior, 10 days prior, but trust me, they may not have had a chance to look at that CV. So it may be 2 minutes before the interview, or 5 minutes before the interview, or 30 minutes before. They're just running through your CV and 10 others or 5 others. So nothing may be standing out for them, to be fair. So usually when you get into that room, they want to ask you to tell them about you, and also to explain to them some of the things you said you've been through that you've written on that CV. So don't find it funny. They don't know you. You need to tell them how you want them to perceive you. So make sure that you're ready to talk to them about what your career prospects are, and how you have trained yourself to get to that level where you are able to position yourself to be able to achieve your prospects by applying to the company. Now that's like 3 things you're merging together, but you must get it right. So you must be able to tell them that, sell yourself basically to them. I know some people don't want to hear it, but that's what interview is about. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. So genuine enthusiasm, be confident, know your CV, use the STAR approach. I don't see you going wrong if you do everything well. I know a lot of people, they know all of this to the nail, but when it comes to confidence, they're struggling. What I would say again around confidence is this: say, the people that are interviewing you are humans like you. So it is not at that point when they're interviewing you, they don't owe you anything. You don't owe them anything. They don't pay your salary. It's not a life or death situation. It may be a fantastic opportunity, but that is what it is. You don't owe them. They don't owe you. So, I mean, at that point, be yourself. Be yourself. Throw yourself out there. Share what you need to share with them. Tell them how it is. Paint the picture, make it believable, because if it's not believable, they're not going to give you that opportunity. So all the best at your next interview.